What's up YouTube? Barcode here, bringing you another Epic 7 video. This video is going to be a more of a free-to-play Wyvern guide on what you should look for, and really what your first goal should be in the game is to be able to farm on auto stage 9 of Wyvern. Why stage 9? And that's because the highest tier gear starts to drop from tier 9. If you can start to go to tier 10, I mean stage 10, then that's perfect. But your first goal should really be able to auto stage 9. Now let's talk about the problems first in stage 9. I get a lot of questions like, I can farm stage 8 just fine, and at stage 9 it's just, it's cancer, so I can't do it. There's a couple different reasons why, and I'll kind of explain them while this run is going on. So first and foremost problem is when you go from stage 8 to stage 9, this is mainly a team comp issue or a gear check issue. So, and the reason being is, one, when stage 8 Wyvern has 50% resistance, when you get to stage 9 it goes up to 70%. Now this is why I talk about it's either a team comp or a gear check, because if it's team comp, that means you're not applying a lot of debuffs. Stage 9 you have to apply 2 debuffs to the Wyvern for him to not do his double attack. Maybe even stage 8, but prior to stage 9 you only need 1 debuff for him not to do a double attack. Okay, so that resistance going from 50 to 70 is a huge issue for a lot of people, and that's why they can't farm stage 9, because they can't get the debuffs off, and they can't do it quickly enough, and which is another issue would be speed, and that's why it's a gear check. Okay, you need decent speed, a lot of effectiveness in order to have safe, effective runs on auto 100% of the time. Okay, now I'm not even, I don't run 100% of the time, and that's because it's a gear check issue. My team comp is actually fine, but my issues are gear check, so speed and effectiveness mainly. Not so much speed, but as you can see, the Wyvern took first turn, but effectiveness is my main issue, in my opinion, is because a lot of the times while I'm watching stage 9, I'm missing, like there. What's her name? Requiem Roar has a lower attack and a defense break. And because she only has like 30% effectiveness, it doesn't work as well as I want it to. Now, another issue is also skill ups. So the more Agora, the amount of skill ups that are in your characters are also an issue, because the higher you skill up your characters, the more effectiveness they have to land it. And this is before actual effectiveness and resistance are into it. Okay, so some skills have 50 or 75% chance to land, and this is even before effectiveness and resistance. Like, for example, Requiem Roar, her last skill is 85% chance to land, and this is before effectiveness or resistance. Okay, once you skill her up, you can get 100% defense break. The lower attack is still at a lower percentage, but you still can get a 100% defense break before resistance. So it's just a huge gear check and progression check in the game. So those things are what you really have to look out for. So let's go into team comp. Okay, the main things with Wyvern is that you need a consistent defense breaker, or at least maybe 2 defense breakers in your team if you can get that. Okay, you also need you just need more than 1 debuff at a time. So what do you have to think? You can bring any debuff you want in order to be able to stop him from doing the double attack. So I mean, even heal blocks, target. So I have Song of Stars on Shuri, which is awesome, and I use that a lot. So crappy gear in stage 9, but Song of Stars on Shuri is amazing. I'm not going to really talk about any 4 stars because I'm going to give you the most optimal free-to-play team that you can make with 3 stars. Now mind you, everybody gets selective summons, right? In the 30, so you can switch out this team comp with one or another of this optimal 3-star or free-to-play team comp that I'm going to show you, and I will go into that. But I just want to talk about real quick. So you have to also use your artifacts to good use as well, and you can make it work. Okay, so Shuri, he brings team combat readiness, and with he also has a poison on his first skill. And as you see, if you saw in the video in the bottom right with my skills, I turn all his skills off, so he just constantly uses his first skill over and over to try to land the poison debuff as much as possible. Okay, so Song of Stars is an artifact that I use on him. 75% chance for an enemy to become targeted for 2 turns. Target helps your team deal 15% more damage. Okay, so target is awesome. That's an extra debuff too. So if just Shuri alone, if he can apply that plus apply the poison on his first skill, which is at a lower percentage, but when you skill it up, it'll be 30% at the max chance to land. But if you do that, that's 2 debuffs right there from one person. That's kind of what you have to look for. Okay, so my thought process on this is, when you think of a team comp, who do you want to bring? Okay, first and foremost, like I said, defense break. Okay, you want to bring some type of team combat readiness. You don't necessarily have to, but it makes life so much easier because a Wyvern is pretty fast, and you have to, you have to move for him to be able to, do for you to win. So the more turns you have, the better to apply debuffs, especially when you get to the barrier phase. You want to be taking as much turn as possible to knock down that barrier, okay, and apply your defense break and just wreck it down. Okay, so defense break, attack buff, okay, team combat readiness. What else? Tons of debuffs. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's heal block, lower attack. Lower attack actually makes the run a lot safer. If for some reason on auto you don't break the barrier, if you have a lower attack on the Wyvern, you can survive the full breath, as long as all 4 of your characters are 6-starred. Okay, so something to think about that. Some sustain. If you have a lot of effectiveness, like I would shoot for all your characters to have at least over 60% effectiveness. Okay, I'm sure there's a threshold, maybe 70, but I would just shoot for at the minimal 50% or 60%. Okay, for safe 100% runs. All right, so if you can land debuffs and your team is fast enough, you don't necessarily need a healer, but you do need some kind of sustain, whether if that's Misty Chain for a 3-star, or some continuous healing if you have characters like that. You can even bring Jekt. Okay, Jekt is a nature 3-star character, okay, but he has increased speed for your team and he has continuous healing. A lot of people don't build him. I haven't necessarily built him either. However, he has a lower hit chance on his basic skill. He has speed up. He has debuff removal. He has continuous healing. So if you pair him with, like, say, Misty Chain, for example, right? So you have all that sustain healing and nuking from Misty Chain, and then you have the continuous healing and speed up from Jekt. Just things to think about when you're thinking about a team comp, okay? So let's go with my personal opinion, my most optimal free-to-play all 3-star team, okay? Now, let's go with the first, Terranor Guard, okay? So Terranor Guard, a lot of people, I talked about him in the last video, a lot of people know about him already. He has a defense break on his first skill, which is a 75% chance if you skill him up to his 4th skill on that basic attack. Okay, cool thing about this game and a lot of other gacha games, which is great, you can actually choose where you put your skill ups in, so you can go straight into this first skill and get at least a 75% chance to land that defense break, and that's pretty huge for a 3-star character. He has the dual attack chance, the combat readiness of all allies, and increased attack of itself. So good, more utility. And then this one doesn't really do much. I don't think you can absorb the combat readiness of the Wyvern. Maybe he still gets the 40%, but I know you can't decrease. It says absorb, so I know you can't decrease the Wyvern's combat readiness. So comment down below if you know for sure if you've built him, because I know he's good, but built him and know if that works in Wyvern or not. So that would be my first guess. So you got the defense break, you got combat readiness, okay? Second would be Misty Chain. So Misty Chain, obviously, I talked about it in the last, has a ton of sustained healing, can be a huge nuker. The more damage you do, the more heals you bring to your team. And then she has 2 debuffs on her second skill, which can be a 3 skill cooldown if you skill that up, and also 100% effect chance. So you just have to deal with resistance and accuracy at that point. So having 2 debuffs again from one character is huge, okay? She's just a great person to play with, okay? Third, I would go ahead and say with Hazel, okay? So for Hazel, free to play, okay? You can get her in connections, you get her in summons. She has the attack buff, she has AoE heal, she has a single target heal, and she has 1 debuff, which unblock, heal block doesn't do anything in the Wyvern, but it's a debuff. You want to survive, you don't want to get double attacked and die, okay? So no matter what, you have a chance to apply another debuff with your healer, who is more of a support too. So just good to have, okay? What I also want to talk about, which isn't a 3-star character, but is a free-to-play character, because you can get her very easily now, especially with this event that's out, A Prayer to Waxing Moon. With the artifact is Yuna, okay? So Yuna will bring the attack buff again, okay, and bring an AoE team speed increase to your team, okay? She also has AoE damage, so getting through the first phase with all the minions before the Drake can be a little bit quicker for you too if you have her geared good. And then she has a strong AoE damage, but it doesn't really matter in Wyvern, but she's a good damage dealer as well. So increased speed is huge on your team. You can't really, you can decrease the speed of the Wyvern before the barrier phase, but in the barrier phase you can't. So as long as you bring consistent team speed, that would be preferable, okay? So yeah, I mean, you can pretty much add or subtract any one of those 4 out with your selective summons. You're gonna have 4 stars, you're gonna have 5 stars, whatever the case may be. But this is where you have to decide on who to bring. Now, I have a list of 4 stars and 5 stars from your selective summons that would be the most optimal people to bring into this. I was gonna put out as well Lorena. You could bring Lorena instead of Hazel if your Misty Chain is keeping you sustained enough, or you can bring in Lorena instead of Yuna if in case you want sustain with Hazel. You just have to think outside the box a little bit, but I'll give you a list of characters that are good for 4 stars and 5 stars that can be good for Wyvern as well, okay? So for Wyvern, let's go into fire first, and I'm not going to talk about any light or dark summonal. There's people talking about 3-star Ellen Moonlight summons are not free to play. I consider them to be free to play because you get them more rare than 4-star, 5-star light and darks, okay? And over time you will get them. So, and free to play players, you have to be patient players, right? So you will get these 3-star characters over time to be able to do it, okay? So let's talk about some 4 stars, all right? So first 4-star I wanted to talk about is Serin, okay? I'm not even really going to talk about it, but I've just given you examples of what you could sub in with some of those teams. Okay, so Serin, she's your bleed queen. She applies a ton of bleeds, a ton of debuffs to make sure that the Wyvern doesn't get double attacks. Okay, you got Angelica. Angelica obviously is a healer, has immunity, has a barrier, has a single target heal. The first skill stun doesn't really matter, but she will keep your team alive, and she's great. You can put her front line, put the candlestick on her, and she can profit. Okay, she could be your frontline tank. Okay, taking much element advantage, right? Okay, so let's talk about Shuri as well, and I already talked about him, but if you have Song of Stars artifact and you have Shuri, I would just build him up. He's amazing. When I got him 6 stars, he definitely needs to be 6 stars because he needs 100% crit, he needs some good effectiveness, and he needs speed. So at 5 star, it's very hard to gear with that. So definitely look into 6 starring him if you want to succeed in Wyvern faster anyway, and that's what I did, and now I can farm stage 9 about 80%, 85% of the time. Good thing when you don't die, you don't lose energy, right? Gotta love that. So Shuri, and then last but not least, for 4 stars anyway, would be Clarissa. So Clarissa has a bleed, she has just a lot of damage, she has an extra defense break. I like to bring 2 defense breaks just to be able to make sure I get that defense break down, and I bring Assassin Cartua and Requiem Roar or whatever. But those are my free to play summons. I'm sorry guys, like that's what I got, and that's what I'm using, and that's what I mean when I say add or subtract something that you have, because I'm sure you have something I don't, right? So even 5 stars, you have something that I don't, right? So you have to just think about the whole entire team comp: defense break, attack buff, team combat readiness, tons of debuffs, even an attack break to make it safe, sustain. Okay, those things are optimal. You need high accuracy, high speed, survivability, skill ups, right? You just need all of that. Go into 5 stars real quick. All right, so everybody knows Diane, right? Diane, whatever. Attack buff, shield, cleanse, okay? Self combat readiness. She can keep like as you saw on my team, I use her to pretty much keep my team up, so barriers work, right? Water Kisei, new character, huge ignore defense when it's just, she's huge, okay? Probably the best Wyvern 5-star nuker, single target damage nuker, all right? Cigarette, tons of bleeds, right? Ignore defense, heal block, she has tons of debuffs, right? Ken, even prior to his buff that's coming up, right? He has defense break on 3 skills, right? Constant defense breaker. Make him fast, make him hit a little hard, whatever, and he's got a decreased attack too. So he brings 2 debuffs on 1 skill, and then he has a defense break on every skill, right? So huge, right? It's just, think about that. Aramintha, right? Burn, heal block, burn, debuffs. It's a common thing. Haste, debuffs, right? That's what you want, guys. And yes, stage 8 to stage 9 is a big jump, especially for free to play, but it's definitely team comp and a gear check. And once you get past those things, you'll be able to get better gear, go into stage 10, go into raid, go into hell mode eventually, right? So that's all I want to bring for you guys today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.